Let me bring in Congresswoman Robin Kelly, Democrat from Illinois. And first, I want to get your response to this Chicago Tribune report that says 60 homicides happened in Chicago in September. And as I was saying just a second ago, Congresswoman,
Right. It's very, very disappointing, and it's frustrating. And it's disappointing and frustrating to hear what my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, what they're saying. They keep saying we have enough gun laws, but part of it is access to guns, store purchases, gun trafficking laws, that background checks that they will not allow to be voted on. And with background checks, still the majority of Americans think that's a good thing. We have a gun violence prevention task force, and it's led by NRA member Mike Thompson from California, and there's other NRA members on that task force that know that we have to do something. This is madness. Madness.
3 more months left in the year, over 2,300 deaths so far, as we were just noting, in the year 2015 there in Chicago. Why hasn't there been able to have some progress in Chicago? Because I know we've done many a segment here and talked about this unfortunate problem in Chicago. It's a deadly problem.
Again, a combination of things. I think access, that's what the experts are saying is the biggest thing, that even though, like people like to say, Chicago has the strongest laws, but Chicago's only one place, and if guns are coming in from other places like gun trafficking, store purchases, that's a problem. The other social issues are problems too. Poverty, lack of opportunity, after school, the lack of, programs and things like that to get our youngsters involved in other things, parenting, community policing, but we still need to tighten up the laws and make sure that the enforcement is what it should be.
Items that could take years, not months, not weeks, certainly is what you're talking about there. In your time as a representative for the state of Chicago, how many Roseburg you had to hear about in the Chicago metro area? How many of you had to deal with?
Well, I think more in Chicago, it's not exactly the mass murders, it's the everyday, every weekend. I know sometimes more than one person has died, but I think sometimes, people don't give it the attention because it's one person dying at a time. It might be 12 people, but they're usually not together, or 50 people shot. So I liken it to a 747 crashing as opposed to a two-seater. We go on and on about the 747, but the hurt is still the same for the families that are losing loved ones. And I also think in the urban areas that people wanted to think that it's gang member to gang member, but that's not the case. It might be a gang member, but the people that are dying are innocent victims.
Will it take more voices like LeBron James just yesterday asking for stricter laws because he was at home in Cleveland when a 5-month-old girl got killed in a drive-by shooting? Will those voices help?
I think everybody's voice, the LeBron Jameses of the world and people you've never heard of, we really need the cavalry to put pressure on their members of Congress, and it has to be relentless pressure. That's what the NRA does. The Illinois Rifle Association talks about me all the time. They don't say the right things. They call me anti-gun, and I am definitely not anti-gun. I grew up in a family of police officers. My grandfather was a hunter.
Right.
I have police officers in my family now, and cousins are hunters, so it's not anti-gun, it's just common sense legislation.
You want the violence to end, no doubt. Congresswoman Robin Kelly.
Oh, definitely. We're losing a generation.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your perspective today.